I want to go ahead and start some stuff. I want to go ahead and start some stuff with this question. Who has it worse? Men or women? Who has it worse in this world? Men or women? Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to the show. Today is a special show. We are getting a chance to talk with the men from the M4 Summit, and we're going to talk to the host who is putting on this special event, Dr. Monica Jackson. And this is a very, very special episode. We've never done an episode like this, and I'm so excited to get into this episode, and I'm so excited for what these men will have to share with the audience. And it's all about this event that Dr. Monica has put together. It's called the M4 Summit, and we're going to talk about that. I hope you guys, if you haven't heard of it, you're going to learn about it today, and you'll get a chance to register for this wonderful event. And these men have a message. They're on a mission, and we're just going to jump into it. First of all, I want to acknowledge Dr. Monica Y. Jackson. And Dr. Monica, thank you for being here, and just tell us what the M4 Summit is about. Just give us a brief overview of what it's about and why did you put it on and kind of your vision for it.
Well, thank you so much, Larry, for always welcoming me onto your platform, first and foremost. And, like you said, this is the first time that you're doing this. So I am honored that you trust me with my message, my mission, and my movement to come on your platform, not knowing what to expect, because that says a lot about who I am as a person and my character, my reputation. And so I thank you for that. M4 Summit is men with a message on a mission, creating a movement. And I had this vision because in May, I hosted the T4 Summit, Trials, Triumphs, Truths, and Tears Summit. And we had 3 men on that panel. And what I noticed is that some of the men were really apprehensive to speak about their trials. And one of the men actually cried as he was delivering his message. And I literally was so honored that he trusted me with his message, that he could open up. He was sharing things that he's never shared before. He literally had a release and shared more things than he ever thought he would share. So that said a lot about me being welcoming, not judging, and being realistic. And when he did that, I saw other men literally start to, they were sitting like this, and all you saw the release of the shoulders went down, and they started sitting forward as if, hey, like I'm man up, and so I literally saw that. And the women also just embraced the men. They were literally learning something from the men. And I said, we need to repeat this with all men, because I felt like we need to give them a platform. A lot of times we don't understand men, or we have an illusion of men. Society has told us what men should be. And I think it's totally unrealistic and unfair. So I wanted to reach out to men for them to share their message. And when I opened it up, I had an overwhelming number of applicants. So I hand selected 12, which I dubbed the dynamic dozen. So we have 4 today, but we have a total of 12. And I am just honored that they are willing to share, they're open to sharing, and they're unapologetic about their message. And so I'm grateful, because we don't see authenticity in the world a lot. We see what everybody else wants us to be. We see what we put on this face of what we should be. And I need to tear that down, because my world was rocked where all of that had to come down. And so I know if I felt that, and you and I have spoken in the past, I know that others need to hear that, so that we can literally, live and enjoy life and be at peace and love one another. I mean, regardless of our race, regardless of where we come from, our religious background. And so that's what I'm hoping that this summit does, because we got to keep it real.
Okay. So the summit is a virtual summit, and it is going to be, tickets are on sale now. Am I right?
Absolutely. They can go over to drmonicajackson.com/M4 Summit and find out all the information there. We also have a resource guide, and that resource guide is going to provide a one-page write-up of every single speaker, how you can contact them, resources that they offer that help them through their trials, their triumphs, and all the way to their victory. And we have opportunities for sponsorship as well as advertisement.
Okay, sounds good. And I will definitely, all of that, all of the links to everything will be in the show notes and the show description for everyone to go and register for this event. I'm excited for the event, and I'm excited to get a chance to speak to these gentlemen today. Like you said, we have four that are here today, and we're just going to start and talk to these gentlemen and get their, just find out more about them, more about what they'll be talking about, and get them to share with us just a little bit more of what they are bringing to the summit, as well as just getting to know them a little bit better. And so let's do this. Let's first start with, and these are men. I will say this: these are men from all over the country and the world, I think. And so let's start with Donald Morton. Uh, Donald, just come on and tell us a little bit about yourself, and then tell us what you'll be kind of sharing with us at the summit.
And
Yeah,
before you
man.
get started, let me say something, Larry. All of these men are long-winded. Every single one of them are long-winded. So you may have to say, okay, time out. I'm just saying, when they say men don't speak, these men communicate. So I just want to throw that out there.
Okay, I know how to politely budge in.
Yeah, I promise I'm not going to be long-winded, man. My name is Donald Morton. I'm the Chief Visionary Officer of Remand. Remand is a coaching and consulting firm specializing in personal and professional development for adult males, seeking to kind of interrupt patterns and break the vicious cycles of missed potential so that those brothers can master their own lives, their sense of leadership to their families, and the legacies with business and culture. Here is what I believe, Larry. I believe that there is not one single thing that we deal with here on this planet that cannot be handled when you develop character. At the end of the day, character is not just the ability to tell the truth. It's not just having integrity. Character is, according to Dr. Henry Cloud, the capacity to meet, face, and overcome adverse realities that come with everyday life. And a part of what I've discovered in dealing with men is it doesn't really matter what side of the tracks you come from, what ethnicity you're a part of. All of us will be faced with issues that try to crush us. And when we develop character, that character gives us the courage to confront it. It gives us the ability to overcome it and to move on with our lives. Look, I don't think there's any of these brothers that are on here, including yourself and Dr. Monica, that don't have stories of things that have confronted us that we haven't had to kind of confront and overcome. So my message is really, really simple. And that is everybody will experience a challenge. Everybody will. The question is not whether you will experience a challenge. The question is, are you prepared for that challenge? And do you have the intestinal fortitude necessary to overcome it so that you can continue on and mastering your life, leadership, and legacy? So that is a part of what I will be sharing. It is my message for the rest of my life until I draw my last breath, that every single man has to learn how to confront the realities of everyday life. And the realities of everyday life are challenging from one moment to the next.
Okay. And that's a much needed topic. And I'm definitely excited to hear more about that. And we'll circle back and talk a little bit more about that. Okay. Let's move on to Drew Deraney.
Hey, Larry, thank you so much for having me on. I appreciate it. Uh, I 24 years in the healthcare industry, and my career came to a halt when I was fired from my job. I reported a HIPAA violation, and 2 weeks later, I was told they were doing a leadership change. In that moment, I realized that you could always do the right thing, and something, is not going to go your way, and it's okay. Still, you need to be authentic and stand in power of your integrity and do the right thing. And if things don't go your way, you got to face it. Like Donald said. What I learned is over the years, I grew up really living other people's belief systems because, we're raised by our parents, and our parents only know what they know, and they're raised by their parents. So we're kind of taught stuff generation to generation, living other people's belief system. And there comes a point in life where for me, I needed to have 2x4 hit me upside the head for me to wake up and realize, Drew, there's a better way to live. And it took me till age 50 with 4 faith-shaking moments to hit me. And it was divorce, it was the job firing, my son had suicidal ideations, and my dad unexpectedly got sick and passed away. Those 4 things kind of tested my resolve. And what I realized is I had kind of low self identity, and I saw those things as 4 crises, and I wanted to give up. What I realized is getting through it to help my kids and my mother. I didn't help myself. I did what society tells men to do. It's suck it up, man up, no tears, just fix it. And I got through it, just not really healthy and empowered. And I woke up one morning and says, I got to change this. I said, men need to tell their story and show some emotional vulnerability to release these toxic toxins that are in our body. We're taught to keep everything in. It's killing us. And so I'm here to have men start to, choose to tell their own story and write their own story instead of letting others write it for them.
That's great, man. That's great. Yeah, so we'll come back to you as well. Let's keep it moving, and let's talk to Matt Hilliard.
Hey, Larry, thanks for having us, man. I'm a relationship coach, and kind of on the same theme as Donald and Drew. Like it was the challenges that I encountered that really put me on the path that I'm on now, which is a relationship coach and a men's group leader. So I support people, men, women, couples, in their relationships, having more fulfilling and connected relationships. And I help men get more connected with themselves. And I grew up in an atmosphere and an environment where I wasn't really encouraged to connect with myself beyond a certain age, where I was kind of really limited in the emotional expression that I was, allowed to have, that was considered appropriate. And the messages I learned about committed relationships, there are a lot of things that did not serve me as I grew into adulthood, grew into more serious relationships. I'm a parent of 2, and I had a marriage that ended after like 19 years. Like I couldn't make it work. I brought some bad beliefs, unhelpful beliefs, and some bad choices and bad decisions into that space that did not serve me well. And that relationship, for me, relationship has been the crucible for the biggest changes that I've experienced in my life. It's presented the biggest challenges, and I dedicated myself to like understanding the patterns that I brought into the relationship, the patterns that I played out in relationship, where those patterns originated, and learn to shed the ones that don't serve me anymore, and to help other people recognize the patterns that they have in their relationships that aren't serving themselves and their partners anymore. And with men, often there's a disconnect with themselves. And I believe that the more we're connected with ourselves, the more we can connect with another. A lot of men come up against the barriers of what they're allowed to connect with inside, what they're allowed to express, helping men shed those barriers so they can connect more deeply.
Absolutely, absolutely. And your topic is definitely much needed as well. Everything that you guys are talking about is so needed, and men need to hear from you, because we we don't hear enough from our men, and we hear from women about men, and that's that's already a problem, because they're not a man, and nothing against them, but they're not a man. And so let me not get on my soapbox, and let me go. Let's move on to Robert Manolson. How do you pronounce it?
Yeah, Manolson.
Manolson. Okay. All right, Robert.
Hi. And well, first I have to thank Monica, Dr. Monica, and thank you, Larry. I'm chiming in here from Edmonton, Alberta, Canada. Very proud to be a Canadian. And I'm so happy that I'm the last of the four to introduce themselves, because everything that Donald and Matt and Drew are talking about, I have had to go through and continue to go through. So I could totally appreciate what their messages and their beliefs, because I've been on the journey that they're talking about. Most significantly, I live with and manage depression and anxiety, more commonly coined as mental health, but it's really mental illness. It's really mental illness, of which there's 4 generations of diagnosed mental illness in my family, on both sides of the family. And to be able to prop myself up as a man and face the challenges being a man, living with and managing depression and anxiety, I've needed to look at my character, right? I've needed to look at my relationships with myself and others. I've needed to figure out how to maneuver through change when change is surprising, as Drew had spoken about, especially in the world of work. I can understand Drew immensely, because I've been wrongfully dismissed from no less than 5 consecutive jobs. So the world of work has hurt me dramatically and has resulted in bringing forward the depression and anxiety that was seemingly well managed for a long period of time, but threw me into a different state of being. So I've had to work through this stuff and continue to work through this stuff that Drew and Matt and Donald are talking about. And I love working through this stuff, Larry, because I'm bringing conversations about working through this stuff forward to men and to the community, because people know me as a high energy workshop facilitator. I'm a play-based, get this, I'm a play-based workshop facilitator. So I love to shatter people's perceptions of what mental illness looks like specific to men. Because people will say to me, how could this high energy guy share with us in his workshop that he's living with and managing depression and anxiety? So as an avid mental health optimist, I want to shatter people's perceptions of what mental illness looks like when it's being owned by a man, because it's defined in a particular way in society, but I want to shatter that. And so it's an honor for me to be with Dr. Monica, yourself, and these 3 men, because I'm going through and experiencing what they're talking about. So it was great to be the last person to present here. So that way I can kind of tie it in together. So thank you. And thank you, Donald, for nodding your head many times there. I appreciate that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, hey, I am I applaud all of you guys for what you're doing. And like I said, it's much needed to kind of just get out there and approach these topics and stand for something and be on the front lines. That's what you guys are all on the front lines, trying to have impact and create change and all of that. And so I want to ask you guys, I want to ask all of you a question, and I just thought of this question because I was talking with someone the other day, and you know, they were like, you know, we women, it was a woman, and it's like, we women, you know, life is hard for us women, and and I kind of start going back and forth with like, oh, okay, well, life is hard for men too, you know, and so I want to go ahead and start some stuff. I want to go ahead and start some stuff with this question. Who has it? And I don't know if it's a fair question or not. It doesn't matter. It's my show. We're gonna let's talk about it. Who has it worse, men or women, or does it matter? Or what do you think? Like, who has it worse, men or women? And just what are your thoughts on that? Whatever your answer is, what are your thoughts on that? Is it the same? Is it not the same? Is it different? Whatever it is, whatever your answer is, you know, kind of tell me why. What's your philosophy on that? If you even thought about this topic before. But who has it worse? Men, because you know, I know women talk a lot about things that we obviously they have babies and they do things like that. And we don't have babies, but we do, you know. And so who has it worse in this world? Men or women? And let's go back with Donald. Donald, start us off with this one.
Men.
You said men?
Men without question. Here's why,
Oh.
though. Here's why. Men have it worse because I think both parties are faced with pressures and situations and scenarios. But in that context, Larry, only men are left without support. So in our society, women have support, children have support, members of other communities have support. Men are left to be in isolation and to deal with the things that we deal with alone, right? So I want to paint a scenario for you that I oftentimes paint for sisters to kind of help them understand. When a woman cries, which is her expression of pain, when a woman cries, everybody, Drew, flocks to her to console her, right? To make sure she's okay, to offer her support. What can I do for you to make sure that you get back up again from whatever state you're in? When a man expresses himself, it's not that we don't cry, we do, and I'm sure Matt would agree, right? We do, men cry, men emote in ways that are similar to women, but many times when men emote, we emote in anger. And when we emote in anger founded in fear, everybody runs from us. We are dangerous to society when we emote. Women are not dangerous to society when they emote. So the issue is not that we don't face similar pressures, right? The issue is that when we face pressure, men are often asked to do it outside of community, while women are having these important gatherings to be able to support one another. So the issue, I think the brothers would agree, the issue is really, how do we learn to discern, to bracket, right? To suspend our personal ideologies about who and what men are in an effort to be able to support them during their vulnerable and authentic moments. Can you imagine that there are many guys, I'm sure Matt sees this, right? There are many guys that when they enter the place of authenticity, a place of vulnerability, it is so uncomfortable for us. And it's such a place that is kind of grounded in fear that when we do, and then we're assaulted based on we're emotionally and verbally assaulted based on our vulnerability. We never want to enter that space again. So it's not that we don't face similar things. It's that when we do, women have support, and our guys don't necessarily have the same level of support.
Wow.
I get you. I get you. Well, go ahead, Robert. Go ahead.
Well,
What do you say?
Donald, what I'll bring forward to the best of my ability, I'll try to springboard from you. And so work with me as I bring this idea forward, and help me steer a little bit from your point of view. Because as soon as you reference that, sort of women have community, a sense of community, and they lean on each other. What came to mind is women are by nature are excellent at starting the conversation, and so are men. But the belief is that we're not, right? That's that, and so that in itself is a barrier to that men face. It's the stigma around the idea that men don't start the conversation. And that's why I love what Dr. Monica is doing, because she's brought together the dynamic dozen to shatter that idea that men don't talk about it, right? They don't start the conversation. Feel free to chime in any time here, Donald. Like, it's okay to interrupt me. But here, the men who are here today, and the other group of 8, we're okay talking about our unhappiness, our self-doubt, our anger, our worries, the things that drain, our energy every day. We do talk about it. So we're up against a bigger message that men don't talk about it, but we do. Any thoughts on that, Donald?
Yeah, I would also add to that, that there's this term out there, Larry and Robert and Drew. There's this term out there, Matt, of safe spaces, right? That we got to create these safe spaces for brothers to be able to have conversations that are vulnerable and transparent. I hate the term safe space, because I can't control what is going to happen as a result of what I share on this call, right? I'm getting to know you gentlemen. From what I know already, I like you gentlemen. I'm happy to be on the panel with you gentlemen, but I don't know that you won't take what I say and weaponize it against me. A part of what we've got to change is language when we start talking to men. Men respond to different kinds of language that are very different than how women respond. So I don't call them safe spaces. I call them courageous spaces. When I call them courageous spaces, I own it now. I take the power from someone else. I'm courageous enough, mindset mastery, right? I'm able to enter a space. I'm courageous enough to enter a space, to be fully vulnerable, to be fully present, to be fully authentic, without regard to what you do with it. It doesn't matter to me. I'm fully whole. So my wholeness doesn't allow me to be embarrassed or anything like that. I'm able to laugh at myself. I'm able, all of that, none of that matters. So I like to really change the language in the conversation. Brothers love to be challenged. So when you challenge whether or not they're courageous, they'll say, I'm courageous enough to do that. And they'll open up and they'll talk. If we start talking about safe spaces, it's not that it doesn't work. I've heard value in safe spaces, but my issue is I'm handing over power to a group of people that I don't know how they're going to handle. And ultimately what happens with that, Matt, is
let Matt continue. Let Matt continue. You don't take a breath, Donald. That's a
I know. Let me get this last point out. I want to make sure people understand that a part of the challenge is I now make a liar out of the group of people with whom I'm involved. because I can't control what happens in that moment. Go ahead and take it, Matt.
Wow.
Yeah, I want to go back to like Larry's question, like who has it worse, men or women? And I think there's a danger in that question. It encourages us to look at the worst and compare our worst stories in our lives, and there can be power and healing in being witnessed in our stories and in our challenges, but it can also be a bit of a race to the bottom. And I think it's a question that there's no real answer to. There's no objective answer to. We live in a patriarchy, a society that's designed and shaped by men. So there's to an extent, it's always going to serve men slightly better than it's going to serve women. Like it's biased in favor of men.
So you're saying women have it harder then? Is that your answer?
I think in some ways, but we're as men, we're victims of the patriarchy too, which is why, like, all of us are here talking about what we're talking about is the ways that our society has, like, if you're a man, like, just suck it up, don't cry, be dominant, earn support, just kind of bury everything that's going to get in the way of that. I think there's another question in there about how do we connect? How do we connect better? How do we listen more fully? So even if we've had a less challenging life than somebody else, how do we find a way to listen to them and connect with their journey?
Are you tired of feeling overwhelmed? Do you find yourself constantly battling negative thoughts? Well, I created a resource that I believe that can help. The majority of fights in life are fought in our head. And so the question is, how can we start to win these battles? Well, that's why I created a 7-day Bible plan called Mind Over Matter, Winning the Battle in Your Mind. This is a 7-day Bible plan that helps us learn how to combat the negative thoughts and get rid of irrational beliefs and begin to win the battle in our minds using God's word as our strategy. Imagine waking up feeling empowered and ready to conquer any challenge that comes your way. When you win the battle in your mind, when you have mind over matter, you can do just that. You'll learn how to reframe your thoughts, replace self-doubt with self-belief, and develop a positive mindset that will lead you in the right direction. The 7-day plan is called Mind Over Matter, Winning the Battle in Your Mind. There's a link in the description below. You can click on that link and get the 7-day plan delivered to your inbox every day for 7 straight days. Just use the link in the description below to sign up and start winning the battle in your mind. Drew, let's hear from you. What do you think? Who has it worse, men or women?
Well, my answer is going to be it depends, Larry. And
Okay.
And I'm a firm believer in stripping away labels. I think the powers that be, whether it's mainstream media, social media, the government, love to put labels on us. The minute we label men, women, black, white, we divide right there. I fully believe in removing labels because there are expectations on both men and women. If you go back to caveman times, men were expected to do the hunting, bring back the food, and keep everybody safe, and the women were responsible for everything else, and the nurturing piece. And that was ingrained in us when we just, when it was fight or flight. And I think that the human brain hasn't evolved that much over time, and the expectations have changed. So you have blurred roles for both the men and the women. Men and women both have male and female chemistry, traits, energy in us. And the best served man and the best served woman have a balance of those traits. There's a place for emotional vulnerability for both men and women, and there's a place for mental toughness and strength. And I think that it's the powers that be, that the outside, the they, who tell us how we're supposed to behave, that will chastise a woman for being assertive, or chastise a man for crying and call him another one. And again, these are all labels. There's a time and a place for a woman to be assertive. There's a time and a place for a woman to be nurturing and emotional. And the same goes for men. And shame on those who do the shaming, do the judging. Honestly, I think there's a place for both men and women to be authentic. We need to work together. Our men and women are powerful together. We just need to A, agree that we think differently, and B, agree that we each need to learn the thinking language of the other gender. Only then will communication be effective, and only then will relationships strengthen. And we're going to see the reduction in the divorce rate and the suicide rate when we start to work together. That'd be my answer.
Robbie, you was about to jump through the screen.
Well, I was going to ask Drew. This is how I'm sort of condensing what you're saying, and correct me if I'm not correct here.
Yeah.
Men and women are both internally strong.
Yeah, absolutely.
But when we bring the authenticity of who we are to the external world, it's how the external world reacts to us, which is extremely different.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's where I'm coming back to the many points that Donald raised around how the external world reacts to men differently to women. And from your perspective, the divide is not healthy. It's just not a good thing.
No, it's not.
To just honor those differences.
Mm-hmm.
And can I say this? And I want to see whether Drew agrees with me or not.
Sure.
I agree that the roles have evolved, right? I agree that there are blurred lines. I don't have any dispute with that.
Yeah.
But I also think that I think you made a brilliant point that I don't want to glance over. And that is, the truth is men and women think differently. We just do.
Mm-hmm.
It's a part of our nature. And a part of what is happening is there are a lot of men who are demonized, right, for the way we think and communicate. And many of our sisters are embraced for the way that they think and communicate. So I deal with a lot of couples who will say, he just doesn't talk. No, he does. He just doesn't talk like you, right? And there are ways, I think, when we learn to appreciate one another and what we bring to the table, the unique value that each of us brings to the table, none more important than the other, but both important, right? When we learn to value that, I think we'll be better as a society. Is that fair, Drew?
I think that's absolutely fair. And I always like to emphasize my point by telling a story. And I'm going to tell you a very quick story. I was having a regular Zoom face-to-face call with actually it was my business coach, and she lives out in Spain. She's from Germany and has a British accent. So I love all that. And we just agree that we're human, right? And she in passing says, well, my man doesn't listen. And I said, whoa. This is going to be fun. And I said, let's stop here. Okay, so give me an example what you mean. And she said, well, I own 3 businesses. I'm running to all 3. I have a busy day, all this stuff. And I come home and I go to my man, and he's semi-retired, and we can't gloss over that. And I go to him, I say, honey, I got to tell you, I want to tell you about, and he says, well, and he doesn't listen. And I said, well, you said a lot of things here. You're coming from the brain of a busy woman, 3 jobs with all this energy. He's coming from a semi-retired chilling thing. And what's he doing when you go up to him? She goes, he's watching the game. I said, okay. So he's in a chill out, retired mindset, and you're in a go, go, go mindset. Did you ask him if it's a good time?
Right.
And she said, I didn't. Why? I said, well, if he's the way the brain works, if he's in relaxed mode, he's not mentally equipped to transition from chill mode to oh my God mode, and neither are you. So if you ask him, if you're asking for permission and you're respecting his point, and if he says it's really not a good time, I'm watching the game, well, when's the game over? It's over at 4. Can we talk at 4? Of course we can talk at 4. Then it's on him when she comes at 4 and he doesn't listen. Point being, it's mutual respect. And I fully believe in there, we shouldn't compromise, we should collaborate. Because with compromise, both people lose because you're giving up something. When you collaborate, it's the same end goal, and you just acknowledge each other's wishes.
Great
And
point.
boy, you can do that.
Great point.
I didn't practice this in my divorce. I learned the hard way.
Yeah,
And
me
so
too.
that would be my
Yeah.
answer. Yeah,
I'll
okay.
bet Matt sees a lot of that in his work as a relationship coach.
Yeah, totally. And that was a great example you gave, Drew. And
Thank
it's sort of what I call like the win-win. Like
Yeah.
what's the, there's in the example that you gave, Drew, there's the story that the man should listen, like he
Mhm.
should just like turn his attention in that moment to what she's saying, like he should listen. But what happens in that scenario is that he'll probably just be pretending to listen, and he'll be getting resentful and pissed off, and like he's like, like, when can I get back to my game? So she's going to pick up on that, even if he's like buries it deep.
Yeah.
She's going to pick up that he's not fully present. So what you were saying is the win-win, where she's like, when I've got some stuff I'd love to share with you, when will you have time? He's like, 4 o'clock. She's like, great. So it means that she might have to be a bit more patient and kind of just sort of like be with her whirlwind a little bit till the game's over. But the win is that when the game's done, she will have his full presence, and that will feel fantastic. She will feel properly heard. I love that. There is a difference in the way that men and women communicate a lot of the times. And if we can understand what those differences are, honor those differences, work with those differences, then we're going to be able to connect way more fully.
Okay, Matt, let's stay with you, Matt.
Okay, I want to answer that question.
Go ahead. Oh, I didn't want to put you in that position. So, but you're free to answer the question.
Look, you can put me in any position. I know how to hold my own. The question was, who do you think have it harder, the man or the woman? I'm going to say that I don't know that. And the reason I say I don't know is because I'm a little different. I look at someone for who they are. I am going to see you, hear you, and listen to what you say and watch your actions. And I'm going to respond appropriately. In other words, I can't respond to Robert or Matt and Drew and Donald, Dr. Donald, the same way. I can't. So, I need to observe what they are saying, what they are doing, because if I'm not meeting them where they are, they're not going to hear me. They're not going to listen, and vice versa. So one of the things that I personally do is, as you saw, I sit back and let everybody speak, then I'm going to speak because I want to hear. I want to listen, not just hear, but to listen and understand what they're saying. And too often, I think that women don't listen. They just want to, or we just want to have our way or impose certain things and expectations unrealistically. For instance, they're just cleaning up the house or doing something around the chores around the house. He may not know how to do that, but we have that expectation of him because he's a man. But he can't say, oh, I don't know how to do that, because now she's going to hold that against him. He's not manly enough. And so we have to get away from these expectations that the world has told us of whether it's the woman or the man, the roles. I just don't fall into the roles anymore. I mean, I think after you've gone through certain things in life, you've gone through pain, you've gone through struggles and wounds, you become a different person. You become your authentic self. You just don't fall into the same roles. So I'm not sure that I understand that one has it worse than the other, because it depends on your upbringing, where you're from, your beliefs, all of that can impact whether it's, one or the other. Now, have I done a study on whether men or women? No, I genuinely couldn't say. There are some women I know that had it harder than some men. There's some men that I know have had it harder than some others. So I really can't generalize. And I'm like what Drew said, I don't like putting labels in generalizations on people. So as you can see, just from these 4 men, and like I said, we have 12, just the dynamics, just how their openness, their ability to communicate. And if women sit and listen and meet them where they are and vice versa, I think we can unify. But because we don't sit back and listen and hear and really want to understand and learn, however long that takes, because sometimes, people evolve. Who we are today, we may be someone different tomorrow. Certain things may trigger us today that won't. So we have to understand that. And so I think that a lot of times we come with these expectations of a man and we expect for him to be that at all times.
Mhm.
And that's unrealistic.
And I'm gonna take that and throw it to Larry. When Dr. Monica used the word roles, I thought of rituals. Men and women have extremely different daily rituals. So respecting that and all that Dr. Monica said, Larry, who has it worse, men or women?
I plead the fifth.
Martin, man, that's why you're the host, Larry.
I plead the fifth. I'm gonna say you can't. It's both. I mean, life is hard. Life is just hard, and we have different. Women have things that men can't understand, and men have things that women can't understand. They experience things that women experience things that we will never experience, and we experience things that they will never experience. And so, you can't really say who has it worse. It's just it's hard when it's hard, and when it's not, it's not. And so that's my answer. But I wanted to ask that question because these are the things that people are talking about, and because this is the conversation that people are having, they take to one side or the other, and when that happens, somebody is not getting heard, right? When you think, kind of like what Donald was saying, when you think that the man, you think, oh, he's cool, he got it, he's, I know he just got shot, but it's okay. I know he's bleeding, but it's okay, he's a man. And when that happens, then there's no validation. There's no validation of who I am, what I feel, and all those things. And so that's the problem with that. And that's why I wanted to ask that question, because it happens on both sides. Women generally, a lot of women generally think that they have it harder, and then some men think that they have it harder. And both are fighting that position and not hearing the other side. So go ahead, Matt.
Yeah, no, absolutely. You said the word validation there, and where we're trying to, like, where we're competing about who's had it worse. We're not listening. We're not connecting. We're not trying to understand why that experience was so bad for that person. We're not trying to understand what their experience is. One of the things I do with couples is to help them, teach them to validate one another's experience, so they're really listening and understanding one another instead of who's right. There's a phrase like, you can be right or you can be married. It's the question isn't who's right and who's wrong, but to what extent do we understand each other?
Matt, bring this comment, bring this into that conversation you just said. Bring that in, because
you matter. Yeah, we all matter, and to put one of us above another of us it's not going to end well.
I would say remove even the question, because it just doesn't matter. It doesn't matter who thinks who has it worse. It matters that we work together to try to make it better for everybody. I mean, that's honestly what I believe. And
I agree. And that question, I believe that question sets the stage. And I wanted to start some trouble, but as well, it also sets the stage for what you guys are here for the summit, to bring awareness to what men, and this is about men, but it's also here to bring awareness to what you guys are going to talk about, and just share, you know, the things that men experience. And so I think that sets the stage for everything. Now, we don't have a whole lot of time. We don't have a whole lot of time left. So I just want to thank you all for coming on. I want to thank Dr. Monica for
Yes.
organizing this whole thing. I want to thank Dr. Monica for putting together this summit. And I want to give out, before I'll let Dr. Monica, if you have any last words, I'll send it over to you. And then after that, I will go and I want everybody to just say, well, no, Dr. Monica, I'll leave you last. And I want everybody to just say, you know, any last words, and how can we get connected with you and what you're doing, and we'll just go from there. All right, let's start with Donald.
Yeah, I've incredibly enjoyed everybody tonight, man. Thank you for having us on, and of course, Dr. Monica, that's my girl. Thank you for including me in this. Let me. You can reach me at remand.info. You can at Real Don Morton at all my social media channel platforms. Let me end by saying this: the goal isn't to erase the differences. The differences are important. The goal is to learn from them and to value them and to affirm them. I have learned from every single person on here tonight. And so the goal for me is to enter these spaces to be uniquely myself, but at the same time, learn from the brothers and our sister who is in the room. So I would challenge us to never disregard the differences. The differences are important. I have a set of experiences that Matt doesn't have. And so does he have a set of experiences that I don't have. And when we can learn from one another, I think we all grow. So thank you for having me, man. Hopefully I added value to tonight's conversation.
Absolutely. Drew.
Yeah, I again, thank you so much for having me on, and Dr. Monica for including me in this very important summit. It's really all about embrace yourself, connect with yourself, understand yourself. Each one of you out there, men and women alike, choose to write your own story. Don't leave it to somebody else to write it for you. We're all unique, yet we have a lot more similarities than we have differences. All right? So embrace our differences, learn from them, and strive to be your authentic self. That's what I want to say. I'm a mindset coach. I really need people to realize that having a growth mindset is to be open-minded. Having a fixed mindset is to be closed-minded. Keep your mind open and grow. And that's what I help men and women do. Absolutely.
Absolutely. All right, Robert.
Powerfulplay.ca. I'm in the business of challenging workplaces to implement a plan for better mental health, for everyone's better mental health. And I do it through play-based workshops. So I weave in the idea of fun at work and play to kickstart the process of implementing better mental health in the workplace. Powerfulplay.ca. But more importantly, let me find it here. drmonicajackson.com. Is that correct? /M4 Summit.
Yeah, I think that's it.
drmonicajackson.com /M4 Summit. Go there now. Go there now. If you are drawn into the conversations tonight, imagine the dynamic dozen over a 2-day period. We're going to rock the house.
Hey, you know, I forgot to say, you can find me at profitcompassion.com.
There you
Profit
go.
Compassion. I forgot. So that's,
It's okay.
and now
No
Matt.
worries. I'll make sure all of this is in the show notes and the show description. So
All
no
right,
worries.
Matt.
No worries.
Everybody's waiting for Matt, what he's going to say.
You
All
can
right.
find
Go
me
ahead,
at
Matt.
relationship. Okay, you can find me at relationshipsthatwork.coach, COACH. And yeah, I'm looking forward to the summit. And this has been, I've just loved these conversations and different opinions and perspectives. And it's great to connect with you men again, and always with you, Dr. Monica, and great to meet you, Larry. And yeah, the core for me is there was something that you said, Dr. Monica, that our challenges change us, and they do, and they can change us for the better if we choose to learn more about ourselves through the challenges that we experience.
All right, absolutely. Hey, I'm looking forward to hearing from all of you gentlemen and the rest of the gentlemen that will be joining us on the summit as well. Dr. Monica put this thing together. Dr. Monica is, I've had Dr. Monica on my show before. She's an author, speaker, coach, consultant, and she's put this whole thing together. So Dr. Monica, finish us out. Let us tell us about the summit one last time, and send us home.
Okay, Robert is holding up what fueled this summit. If it wasn't for my wounds, if it wasn't for my struggles, my pains, this summit would not exist. And so I challenge women and men to look at your struggles, look at your pains, look and see what they birth in you, how you have grown, and learn to listen to others. You know, I'm sure you've heard something tonight that will help change your perspective, that can help you grow. I don't know any of these men. I met them very recently just because of this summit. And I am so grateful for the knowledge that I have learned from them, the strength that I see in them, the struggles that they've overcome. And I'm so proud of them. I mean, like I said, I don't know them, but I'm so proud of these men, these 12 men, because I see myself in them in many ways. I see certain things that I can take from them, that I can learn, that can strengthen me as a person and as a woman. And so I encourage men and women to register for this M4 Summit for this reason. Because when we learn about others, we learn about ourselves, we learn about our biases. We don't know what's in us until we are faced with certain situations. And until we are faced with those situations, we will not resolve them. We will not solve them. We'll just brush them under and pretend like they don't exist. And we have to change that. The world is full of pretense right now. We can't handle pretense anymore. We need to deal with reality. We need to deal with truth, not what generations have passed on to us, what we think, what we've been taught, but what's real, because people are yearning for realness. They're hurting, they're struggling, whether we want to accept that and believe that or not. We walk around with this smile, but we're hurting, we're struggling, and we want to know that people care. So I invite men and women to register for this summit. Go over to drmonicajackson.com/M4 Summit for yourself. And if not just for yourself, someone you may encounter that may need what you learn in this summit. We need to be able to reach someone else besides ourselves and outside of our immediate circle. And thank you, Larry. I thank you to all 4 of the men that were here tonight and the dynamic dozen.
Absolutely. Hey, you guys, if you enjoyed what you heard today, there's going to be that and so much more at the M4 Summit. So don't forget, register. This is an important conversation. This is an important topic. All these topics that these men are going to talk about, it's important, it's needed. And so I encourage you all to register. So if you like what you heard today, like this episode, share it with somebody who you know can benefit from it. And I know you know someone who can benefit from what you heard today. So with that being said, thank you for watching and tuning in, and I'll see you in the next episode.